All right, quarterback with the most pressure. You can take this wherever you want. Get us going here, Teague. Which quarterback faces the most pressure this weekend and why?
From a media standpoint, it's going to be Tom Brady because they're paying a team who is 7-9, making the postseason. Now, just as an aside, Bruce Arians had the exact right response to when asked about playing a sub-500 division winner in the Washington football team. Even though they're going on the road, he said they're not a 7-9 team. This team is 4-1 under Alex Smith. In fact, they're actually 5-1 in games that Alex Smith has started. He got hurt in one, and they finished out that win still. So they are not a 7-9 team when Alex Smith is the starting quarterback. But still, Tom Brady is supposed to beat the Washington football team with as much talent as they have on offense. Even with Mike Evans banged up, they should win this game. And so if Tom Brady, who historically has not played well in wild card games, right? The reason that the Patriots were always, getting into the AFC Championship games and ultimately 9 Super Bowls was because they always had the bye week. They were always the best team or one of the top 2 teams in the AFC. He's playing in a wild card game, and he hasn't acquitted himself well in wild card games. So I think, to me, the pressure is Tom, because the media is going to be all over what can Tom do with Bruce Arians' offense and this Tampa Bay really complete team.
Okay, good one. I'm going to take it a different direction. First, let me preface it with, I always look at pressure, and I believe, like the word great, maybe not quite as much, but in the same neighborhood, it's often overused and at times it's misused. And let me tell you why I think that's the case. There's an old expression, I believe it was Chichi Rodriguez who said this long time ago. Pressure is when you're playing for $100 and you have lint in your pocket. You have $2 in your pocket, but you're playing somebody for $100.
True.
You better win.
None of these guys have lint in their pockets.
Exactly. Pressure is, to me, where there is a tangible outcome that will adversely affect either your earning power or, pertaining to the NFL, your current address. Meaning, if you don't play well, they're probably going to move on. So that's my mechanism to determine, like, truly viable terms of pressure. The media means nothing. Whatever's said, whatever's written about Tom Brady can go 18 for 50 with 2 blindside fumbles and a pick 6. And Tom Brady, if he's healthy, is starting week 1 for the Buccaneers next year. Fact. Phillip Rivers, I think he's going to retire anyway, so I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure there. I think the pressure, to me, even if Josh Allen had a bit of a bomb, like a stink bomb game, which I don't think he will. I think the Bills have a real chance to get to the Super Bowl. I'm on the record with that. But even if he was really woefully off and underwhelming, guy had an MVP season, basically. He's fine. I think the guy's Lamar Jackson. Because when you get to the point, now, Lamar Jackson would still be the quarterback week 1 next year, of course. But think about how I framed my idea of pressure. 1, it adversely impacts your earning power. Or 2, it changes the address of your current team, where you currently reside, with your family and what helmet you wear. He'll be wearing the same helmet, but if he bombs again in the playoff, and he has had some duds. First one, understandable, he was a rookie. Last year, if it's now 0 for 3, this is now his narrative, all right? This is his story until it's changed otherwise. And it could, and I would submit it very well might, determine what kind of money he gets from the Ravens moving forward.
Yeah, no, it's a good one because he does have to win. They've been one of the best teams in football over the last 2 years, and he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. He's different than what we're used to seeing at quarterback, but he has been one of the best quarterbacks in football. You don't win an MVP otherwise, but in the postseason, whether it's pressure or you're playing a better team and they game plan you out of what you do best, he does have some pressure for sure. I just think that Lamar Jackson, I don't know if he feels it. I think Tom.
But that's not the question.
I know it's not, but I'm just expanding here.
I got you.
I think Tom feels the pressure. Only one,
really?
One because of his age, and he knows this. Look, Tom is acutely aware of his narrative. He doesn't do the things that he does commercially and documentarily, and he's got this now. What is it, Tommy and Gronky thing? I don't know if you've seen.
I didn't even see this one.
It's
Tommy and Gronky.
It's exactly what. It's exactly what.
Well, like little Tommy and little Gronky, little boy.
They're just having these conversations, right? He's spent the last couple of years, and even a year in in New England, like rebuilding, or not rebuilding, because he's always had this great brand, but like, I don't know, changing his brand a little bit. If you know
I
what
agree.
I mean. And so I think
I don't know if Tommy and Gronky's going to get it done, though.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
About TB and Gronk.
Yeah, it's exactly
Gronk
what
and
it
Brady.
sounds. It's corny,
Tommy
though.
and
It's
Gronk.
like, it's supposed to be funny and like show this other side of Tom.
All right.
I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But I think he feels the pressure. Like to him, there's an urgency to be successful. Now, he's probably always had that urgency, but I think, when he was in New England, it was like, okay, if I falter, we won 5 already. You know what I mean? We have another one. We have equity already. I don't think that's the case down in Tampa. So I think Tom feels it, interestingly, more than Lamar Jackson does, because Lamar's only 24 years old. Yep. He doesn't even know what he's supposed to feel yet. I
think he's starting to get a sense of it's winning time.
Maybe because. But just thinking about his personality, I just don't feel like Lamar cares necessarily. I know he does, but I don't think he cares if people are starting to say, "Yeah, you can't get it done in the postseason." He's still gonna go be who he is. You know what I mean?
The way you frame it about Lamar Jackson, I would agree with. He seems to be very uninterested,
yes,
and certainly impacted on what people are saying. And by the way, what most of us say about Lamar Jackson, he's a one-man show, and he's great to watch.
Exactly.
Mechanically, you got to tighten a few things up. Down, you got to make a few more throws. We get it, but it's called the progression. The young man's got an MVP on his mantle, and he's terrific. And he went back-to-back 1,000 yards rushing. He's been great in college. I mean, he's got a slow heartbeat. That is one thing we know. What I would really disagree with is the way you position how Brady might compartmentalize this aspect of pressure. This is a guy who barely started in college.
Yeah, aren't you past that?
Well, yes, you are, but you'll see the thread here.
Go ahead.
Barely started in college, barely drafted, only got a chance to play because somebody's clavicle got exploded, Drew Bledsoe. Didn't play particularly well out of the chute. Was more of a byproduct of defense, ball control, field position, Vinatieri obviously coaching. And then, you win 1, then you win 2, then you start to approach Montana, then you got to wrestle with the GOAT tag, and every single checkpoint that Tom Brady's gone to, except when he plays the Giants, but that's not a pressure. That's just maybe a better franchise that day winning. He's handled impeccably. He's 43. This guy's battled his entire life to get respect. I think that's his edge, but I don't think it will be unnerving to the point where he feels pressure. I don't see it that way.
Do you think that Tom Brady pays attention to the whole "is it Brady or Belichick" conversation that existed?
Honestly, I do. I do. But I still don't think that would adversely.
I don't think it's going to adversely affect Tom Brady.
Okay.
I think he feels it, but I think he also thrives off those things.
Well, then he shouldn't feel pressure because he's used to thriving.
Think about the year that he got suspended because of
the PSIs. Destroying the phone.
I couldn't remember what the
Deflategate.
What the gate was called. Deflategate. He got suspended for 4 games because of Deflategate. Yeah. That season was one of his best seasons of his career.
That's right.
He responds to pressure. So I'm not literally and figuratively, no pun intended. He responds to pressure.
Yes.
But I think but you asked the question, who's feeling the most? I think it's Tom Brady, because he knows this could be it for him.
Where is going to be it? He's got another year to go on his contract.
I know.
It could be it. He's got another year to go.
What if they win a championship? And he's just like, all right, I'm good. I honestly, I don't know if he's committed to playing another year. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I don't know if we've actually heard anybody talk about this season.
But would that be pressure? Would that just be an awareness of your?
Well, the pressure for me on him comes from the outside. It's everybody saying, all right, you did all of this in New England with greatest coach. Now go do it again.
Do it again
someplace else where the structure is a little bit different. Not saying it's like insubordination running around, but it's just a different structure down there in Tampa. And Bruce Arians is a different coach, and all eyes are on you. Everybody wants to see, what does Tom do in the postseason? And it starts against a team who gets after the quarterback as good as anybody in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. Talking about the Washington football team. And you're on the road. You're not even hosting that game. You got to go up to D.C. where it's going to be, warm. I mean, not warm. It's going to be chilly and maybe even weather this week.
He's used to that, though. He doesn't care.
Of course he is, but still, you're on the road for a postseason
with no
game,
fans,
which he hasn't done. I'm not talking about fans. I'm just talking about being on the road for postseason games in the wild card. He hasn't played well.
No, he hasn't. That is factually true. That's true. Well, listen, to the point about reacting to a new environment, I do get it on the very human level. I know it's not the perfect comparison, but just say tomorrow Tiki and Tierney was on a different network, right? There'd be new bosses that would be, all right, we gave these guys a lot of bank to bring them over. Let's see how this first show sounds, right?
Yeah.
There'd be a heightened awareness internally. We wouldn't be nervous, but we would process our emotions differently.
Well, you would be nervous. You'd be different. You'd be a different kind of nerves.
It would be an energy. Well, maybe, you know what? Maybe,
I know what
to
you mean.
To be fair, maybe it would be not nervous like, oh, my God, I don't know if I could do my job. But more like, yes, it is the first show, and you work under the assumption that nobody's listened, nobody's heard before. Yeah. You want to reward those who hire you. Right. I think that applies to everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas
when we do our show every day, it's like, all right, we know this, man.
We have our system, much like Tom had a system with the Pats. To your point, that's a good point. But I think that evaporates, like for us, under that fictitious scenario, it would evaporate after the first 2 or 3 minutes of the – okay?
No doubt.
So it might – once – when he's coming out of the tunnel, maybe feels a little different. Once he's immersed in the game, he's Tom Brady. Yeah. That doesn't mean he's going to throw for 500 yards,
but to your point, not nervousness. I don't think Lamar gets nervous because he's too like when you're an athlete like that, nerves, you're not worried about precision. Right, you're just worried about reacting because that's what he does. Right, he runs. He's run for 1,000 yards 2 seasons in a row. He's just reacting to what's presented to him, and he's just an athlete. So it's not like I got to put this throw exactly where it's got to be. That's not what he's thinking about. It's more I just got to go be a playmaker. However, as the game goes on, and say their Tennessee Titans have a 7-point advantage with 6 minutes left in the game. Then Lamar Jackson's starting to rethink this narrative that's out there about him, right? Yeah. So it persists for him for the whole game. Whereas for Tom Brady, it's just like, all right, whatever. It's there. I've done this before.
Been there. No, that's another good point. It's funny because with Lamar, there's no nervousness about what he possesses. Like, when you are the best athlete, arguably in the sport, you're not nervous. I remember I was nervous. I remember freshman basketball. We're playing St. Raymond's, which was still kind of but back then, a Catholic school power in Manhattan. Power. Danny Basil, Antigua. I know Danny really well. Great player. Great guys who made the NBA. Great players, right? We're pretty much an all-white team, and they're pretty much not. And I could shoot. I'm one of the best shooters on the team, but I'm also one of the slowest guys on the team. And I remember I didn't start. I remember sitting on the bench saying, I don't really want to play today because there's nothing that I could. They had this little tiny court, right? And they would press you and they would trap you. I am utterly useless. So I was nervous because I'd have no impact. There's nothing I can do. I can't carve out any space. I'm going to have no room to shoot. I'm a complete zero. But Lamar Jackson's not nervous.
Yeah.
His mission is to find a way to plow through some inefficiency, not derived from nerves, just derived from inefficiency, probably from mechanical breakdowns, whatever it might be.
Yeah, just his skill set that he hasn't developed yet.
Just once I wish I was sitting. Just once, even you. Like, I'm so envious of just, being the best athlete on the diamond, on the court, in the street. Like, what does that feel like?
It's empowering.
I have no idea.
No, it's empowering. I remember this when I was in college. Like, it got to a point, this is before I was starting. It's like, this feels easy. I remember saying to myself, this feels easy. So I knew it was only a matter of getting an opportunity before I would, excel as a starter. Because as the second team guy and you're doing all the scout team stuff, it's like this, and you're going up against the number one defense. I'm still like this is starting to feel easy. And so
damn you guys,
it's empowering. It really is,
dude. Not only was I nervous through the game, I remember at the end of practice, I'm like, all right, I'd look up at the clock. I'm like, we got about 20 minutes left to practice. I mean, suicides come. Like, I was nervous about running suicides because I was going to be finishing among the last guys with my teammates, let alone getting on the court and actually try to do something. Lamar, by the way, I actually have a good feeling about the Ravens this weekend. They're playing some good football right now.
They really are. When you run for 400 yards in an NFL game, then you're doing something right.
And it's an anomaly with 400, but they've had a lot of outbursts in terms of, like, they put up a good 335, I think it was, with 300. Like, they've been running the ball. Defense is locked in. Ravens a danger. I would not want to play the Ravens at all.
Agreed.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.